Oh, pretty smoky down here in southwestern Ontario. Welcome to the Superpilotish channel. My name's Graham Wilson, and today I'm going to be talking about all that smoke that's in the air in like kind of the northeastern part of North America. I'll be talking about that in my basement, of course. So, hey, Shecky, hey, Dan, woo. All right, yeah. So, I guess I'll kind of start off how I got the idea for this show. I usually have a hard time, but not this time, getting an idea. I went flying yesterday for a little bit. I'm still working on my checkout flight to get checked out to fly a de Havilland Chipmunk, and it's like, yeah, things were looking pretty good. The wind's pretty much down the runway. Nice day for oh, hey, Jay. And welcome to the show. So yeah, so I was went and did some circuits, as they call them here in Canada. I don't know what they call them in the States, like booting around, touch and goes in the pattern. But anyways, went out there yesterday to do that and get kind of checked out in the Chipmunk. And hey, April sunshine, hey neighbor. So went out there. Weather's looking all great. You look up, nice blue sky. So now this is one of the things that really kind of threw me, was that I'm expecting to have this really perfect flight. Well, because all of my flights are perfect. No, not this one. So anyways, went out there and it's like, hey, everything's looking cool. And then the chief pilot out there, Dave, he was up with somebody else, and he came back and was like, all right, let's go do some touch and goes, work on my landings. And he said, the weather was great. They were up there, they were booting around. I think they did a couple little bit of aerobatics and stuff, and no problem. So after they landed, it was maybe about a half hour. We get in the plane and take off. Maybe an hour later. It always takes you longer than you think when you're getting ready to go flying. And so we go out, take off, and it's like, what's all this crap in the air? It's just everything turned brown in like an hour. And yeah, Dave was like, it wasn't like this before. Well, okay, so we kind of did a little lap around the airport there, and it was like, okay, the next time we took off again, and then it got worse, and like the visibility within, it takes you probably about 5 minutes to go take off, fly around, land again. Yeah, about 5 minutes or so to do that. In 5 minutes, the visibility dropped like probably just, I don't know, probably a few miles. And we did it again, and the visibility got even worse. And then at that point, I'm a little bit unfamiliar with this plane. So, and I was really messed up because there was no horizon anymore. And it was something to really watch out for. So that's kind of my little story of why I was thinking about this. Now, people are probably wondering what's all this smoke and haze and stuff in the air. So I got my backup. That's my backup whiteboard, but maybe we'll use that one here for explanation. So I was looking at the weather, and and that was one of the biggest things, is that if you're not expecting, you're expecting a perfectly good flight, and now I'm doing like IFR circuits. What? It's like that kind of messes with you. And to tell you the truth, I've never actually flown through this much haze and smoke. So why we got all this stuff? Let's do, I'll whip out a map of Canada. Okay, we got some islands up here. And we got like that. We got BC over here. Oh, we'll include the United States there too. No Mexico. We'll cut out Mexico here. States goes like that. We got some Great Lakes. Florida comes down like that. We go out here. Looking pretty good so far, right? And then actually that looks like Point Pelee. Let's make it a little rounder there. So I will show you very quickly here. We got Hudson Bay, Quebec. That's one of our guys that's causing us trouble. St. Lawrence Seaway, Newfoundland, hanging out here. Okay, that's not exactly the greatest. There we go. There's an accurate depiction of North America. Okay, and so what we're going to do here. Yeah, I was checking out the kind of like the large I don't know, the kind of the bigger weather maps that us pilot guys kind of check out. And it's very unusual. Usually if you got your Graham the weatherman here today. So usually all your winds are coming from the west and they're going to the east here. But there's a strange phenomenon right now where, and like you'll see a jet stream usually going across there, or it might dip down a little bit sometimes. But right now, and then you'll have different high and low pressure systems. So we're getting all meteorology here. So out around, I'll put a blue L here. Okay, take the L. Put it right over Newfoundland. That is a low pressure system. And there's like almost no other low pressure systems in all the rest of North America. There's a bunch of highs in here. There's H's all over the United States. There we go. But so there's like a whole bunch of weather that's just kind of sitting around. There's not a whole lot of movement there. The jet stream right now is kind of broken up. It's kind of coming this way, kind of going this way. It's the weirdest jet stream I've ever seen. It kind of comes up and around. It's doing weird stuff. So we got all these forest fires in Quebec over here. Let's draw some trees. Here we go. Nothing but the finest color coding here on the Super Pilotish channel. And so here's our burning trees in Quebec. And I'm getting to the why very shortly here. Okay, there's my little green tree. That's on fire. So the thing is, if any of you guys are backyard meteorologists or pilots or something like that, you know that the winds around a low pressure system, which is like a hurricane kind of thing, that's a really low pressure system, they go counterclockwise. So you're kind of going like this. And that's unusual because so now all the smoke from this tree is going down here to Windsor and Toronto and everything else, and it's going over to New York. So there we go. It's just kind of circulating around here and blowing all the smoke down that way. A little bit different. So that's why we have all this stuff up in the air, all this haze. And so smoke is, I was going to say, if you want to call it haze, if you want to call it smoke, you can kind of call it smoke is a type of haze. So if you have haze means that it's kind of that brownish stuff. Smog could be considered haze too, because it's particulate matter. So if you see that brown stuff up in the air, that brown junk, that's haze. But there's different types of haze: smoke, smog, whatever you want to call it. So there we go. That's why we have all that stuff. It's going counterclockwise and shooting it all down. All right, so there we got the Y, and yeah, that's right, Ranch Hoker Smaze. Either way, it's still acceptable. And okay, what else we got here? So that's that. Now, is it safe to go flying in hazy weather? Yeah. So smoke? Yeah. Volcanic ash? Definitely not. So yeah, so I guess I'd probably put that out there for the non-pilots anyways that might be tuning in, is that okay, so if you're flying, say you're flying your big old jet airliner and you're, I don't know, flying from New York to Los Angeles or something like that, not a big deal. If there's a bunch of smoke in the air, probably what will happen is that when you're on the ground, you still might have it in the cabin a little bit there, and then as you climb up higher, a lot of these bigger jets, they have HEPA filters in the cabin. And then, so like that particulate matter, like the haze, the smoke, that'll get filtered out. And then once you're way up high, you're probably not going to be running into too much of that. I had a little PIREP or a pilot's report on my Twitter or on the Twitters. And yeah, a guy I know, he flew back yesterday and it was all, smoky, hazy. And he climbed up a little bit higher, nice clean air, no problem. And at that point, I would imagine you'd probably have a bit more of a horizon. Now, it's kind of weird that if you do see that forecasted for smoke, now that's one thing that I've never encountered before in my entire life, was that it could go so drastically from like it's. Oh, excuse me, like, oh, it's not too bad, to like, whoa, I got like about 1 mile visibility that way, about 3 that way. The tower was reporting 3 miles visibility, which is legal for us little airplanes to fly around, but just barely legal. And you don't, it's not that fun flying around like that. And we cut our flight short. But yeah, if you're in a big airliner, you're probably going to start off. You might have that in New York with all the smoke and in the air. By the time you get around, I don't know, where we'll say Detroit here, then or Chicago or something, it's probably all cleared up by then, and you'll have that nice fresh air in Los Angeles when you land. So uh, there we go. And okay, so that's that. And a few other things I wanted to mention here was that okay, what to watch out for? Like how if you're a pilot like me flying little airplanes, where can you get information about this stuff, and what can you anticipate on your flight? So you check all your regular. See, now this is one of the things where a lot of people, when they're flying around, they have their little iPad that does everything for them with like ForeFlight or whatever app they have on there, and those things are fantastic. But as far as I know, and you can even have like weather radar on top of that, which is super handy. But it doesn't really cover smoke so much. Now, I guess now I don't know if they can put a satellite view on that, but it would show up on satellite. I know that. And I also know that the Environment Canada, I know a guy that works there, and he has access to all these tools that can, predict weather. So I mean, they have satellite, thermal imaging. They can do all kinds of cool stuff at Environment Canada. And same with in the States with their weather number crunching and supercomputers and modeling, and it's extremely accurate, really. But yeah, so I would say don't rely so much on just that moving map with the radar overlay on it. You might want to actually get into checking out the NOTAMs along the way. PIREPs are very good. The pilots will report at this altitude around here, I got 2 miles visibility, and that's not too great if you're requiring to see where you're going. Yeah, so it would be like because yeah, check out everything that you can check it out, but also be aware that like just what I saw is like it dropped really quickly for really no reason. And another thing too, if you're flying directly into the sun through any type of haze, not just smoke, your visibility is very restricted. So they could watch. It could be hard to see traffic. If you're finding checkpoints, if you're like doing an old school cross country trip where you find your checkpoints, you're practicing for your flight test, or you're getting your pilot's license, learning it the old school way. Yesterday would have been absolutely terrible for that. I pity the fool to send a student up yesterday to go do a cross country trip, and it's really weird because it could be legal, but it's strange. You look up, you got blue sky, you get up in the air, you can't see anything, and then the student doesn't know anything better. Okay, I'll just keep going up to London or whatever. Yeah, that could be pretty dangerous for the student too. Like, I mean, I was messed up. My altitude was off when it dropped down. There was no horizon. I'm kind of in an unfamiliar plane. It's like, yeah, this is weird. And so that's my excuse for why my last landing was junk. So, anyways, yeah, that's the one thing you get as you become a more seasoned pilot. You get better excuses at your bad landings. So, okay, that was that. Check that stuff. Now, if you are actually around, I did want to mention too that if you're going to be flying in smoke, there could be a forest fire. Like I'm far away. I'm how many miles away would that be? 1,000 miles away. Yeah, I'm probably about 1,000 miles away from the forest fires. But it's just like, oh well, they're hitting us. Yeah, so if you find yourself around a forest fire, and I was checking this out, it's a pretty common thing that you have to learn for when you become a pilot, you have to learn how to avoid forest fire areas. So I'll kind of show you something there. I'll get the old red marker out again. Okay, so now this is okay. Let's just say we got a little forest fire here. Yeah. There we go. That is exactly what a forest fire looks like. So if there is a forest fire like that, and you can even like see it off in the distance, stay away because I was just reading about this just before going on, and I never knew it until I actually researched it before going on. Now, I always knew that if you have a forest fire going, and it's a forest fire area, only authorized aircraft can go within. Okay, we got it's basically kind of set up like your average control zone. This would be 3 miles, 3 statute miles. Okay, so a radius of oh, what am I doing? No, that's 5 miles. What am I talking about? I got messed up. Okay, so it's like a standard control zone basically with your 5 miles here radius, and I got messed up because and it's 3,000 feet above ground level. So yeah, so you kind of have this wherever the forest fire is, you have to assume that there's people fighting it, and you stay away from that fire by at least 5 miles. Now, usually they will put a NOTAM out there, notice to airmen, saying, hey, watch out for fire activity. This is now class F airspace because it's all effed up. And yeah, but what I was reading too is that they don't necessarily have to declare that there's a NOTAM. They don't have to issue a NOTAM for that. They can just go in there, start fighting the fires. You'll have water bombers scooping over there. You have any of the traffic that's in there is controlled by the bird dog, and that's the plane that kind of finds the fire and says, okay, boys, we're attacking it from this way. Get in there and drop it, and then they all follow him, and they kind of follow the bird dog, and he's in charge of or she is in charge of coordinating all the traffic in there. So it's like flying the plane, fighting the fire, and being an air traffic controller all at once. So bird dog's really busy. Then they don't need you in there messing around trying to fly a drone or doing anything in there. Stay away. They got work to do and lives to save. So that's something else, just a reminder. And you will have to know that for your private pilot license. You'll probably get that on your commercial written test, and I don't know if I saw it on any ATPL exams. I don't think I did. I think I saw it on one of my instructor rating exams too. That's a very good that's a good thing to know no matter what. Okay, so we got that we're talking about. Another thing too, if you are bringing along passengers and it's hazy, and it's not necessarily just like for this Smoky stuff that we got in forest fires, is that I have noticed this many times taking people up in extremely hazy weather, especially if it's hot. That's when the barf bags come out. So it's hot, it's hazy, and you're going to get nauseous. I felt that way a little bit. I never actually did have to use the bag, but I felt that a few times on like cross-country trips. You're kind of bouncing around. And the reason you get nauseous that way is because if there's no visible horizon, it messes with your inner ear. So what your eyes are seeing is basically not much movement, but your ears are getting moved around. Like your inner ear, all that fluid in your inner ear is getting moved around, but your eyes are not detecting that because there's nothing to look at. And so that'll get you nauseous because your brain's trying to figure that out, and yeah, it'll make you sick. And if you have people in the back of a four-place, like a four-seater, whether you have a Cherokee or a Cessna 172 or something, people in the back seat, they usually throw up first because it's hotter, and there's a little bit more yaw there too, side to side movement, and just enough to make things uncomfortable. So yeah, I would say If it's really hot and hazy, smoky like this, maybe like this stuff's supposed to clear out in just a few days. And I would tend to believe that. That's what Environment Canada was saying for the 7-day forecast, and they're pretty accurate about that stuff as far as where the winds will be blowing all this stuff. So okay, so that's that. Watch out for people getting sick. Oh, and that was another thing too. That I was one of the reasons I cut the flight short yesterday, or we decided as a crew, was that because we were seeing that, okay, we could see, okay, that way there's about a mile visibility, and especially if you're around the airport, you know how long your runway is, so you can kind of say, okay, that's that I know that runway is about a mile long. Okay, it's about that far. That's about one runway length. That's 1 mile visibility. Or if you got a 1.5 mile runway, a big one, okay, 1.5 miles, or maybe 2 runways. So, and then you can kind of estimate that. So it was 1 mile here, 2 miles there, but they were reporting 3 miles visibility. So you're still legal because the reported visibility is 3 miles. So, like for our little airplanes. If you're in a big jet, you're probably you're flying IFR, bunch of stuff. You can have much less visibility and still flying a big jet, and that's another thing not to worry about if you're taking a big jet somewhere. Yeah, you'll they can they can fly without even barely seeing anything. So they're really, unless you're right on top of a there's a forest fire directly next to the airport, you could probably get anywhere you need to go with a big jet, or even like I don't know, a smaller turboprop kind of plane. Okay, so that was that reported visibility. Oh, and then another thing that one last thing here for all you pilots out there was that where did I put my little eraser? Oh, there's my expensive eraser. And I was doing just a little mathemagic the other day, and I never really calculated it too much, because when the pilots report visibility, it's from where the pilot is sitting. So let's just say we got a pilot and he's flying his fine airplane over here. Let's make it, we'll make it team low wing here just to be fair. And all right, so there's my fine low wing airplane. So you got to be able to have 3 miles visibility in a control zone, right? So here's the ground. So if you got your trigonometry hat on there, you want, if the tower, well, that's a perfect looking control tower, and 3 miles. And we'll put a tree at the end of the runway here. You can see some trees. All right, so there's the control tower. There's the trees at the end of the runway, or at the where you can see 3 miles. Okay, but if you're in the airplane, this 3 miles is now slant range this way here. So if you got 3 miles here, you got your trigonometry, this would be a little bit less, right? You got your hypotenuse and all this other stuff, right angle triangle. So yeah, but I calculated, and it's really not that much difference. Even if the plane's up quite high, like at 5,000 feet, it's only like a 1/4 mile less this way. So basically whatever's on the ground is darn close to what you're seeing in the air. Like it's pretty close. You got to be really, really high for the difference between the slant viz and the horizontal viz to be different. So that's just one thing. It's really not that much different. So yeah, so if the tower is saying, hey, I got 3 miles visibility, you probably have about 3 miles too. Anyways, that is that. I never actually did the math on that before, but yeah, it turns out it's not that much difference. Okay, and there we go. Everybody happy about flying flying through smoke now? Hopefully you can remember some of that stuff. I think I mentioned a little too much to do a big summary. You could just kind of I don't know. Remember what you remember. Yeah, so that's about it. So I'll just go through here and see if there's any little questions or interesting comments. Let's see what we got here. So, what else we got here? El Nino, baby. Yeah, I guess this is probably some kind of El Nino. Okay. What else we got here? Okay, now. Oh, the interesting thing. Kansas is giving away money to teach pilots this week due to pilot shortage. That's interesting. And Dan is saying that there's huge re-up bonuses for ATC. Interesting. Yeah, I mean that's the whole aviation industry. There is the baby boomers are retiring, so there's that shortage of like highly skilled people, whether it's air traffic controllers, airplane mechanics, even like aviation doctors that can do your medical. Those are getting a little bit harder to find. And yeah, it's just all those baby boomers are retiring, so all those extremely skilled people are going bye. And yeah, it's they're gonna have to start doing something about it. But what do we got here? Okay, and Wrench is also saying that planes should not have carpet for this reason. The reason being of throwing up. But then I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to start talking about throwing up in airplanes. I'll make myself puke on the part of the carpet down here. Okay, what else we got here? Okay. Yep, so there we go. Oh, here we go. So Jason was asking, Graham, I've been multitasking, working from home probably. But did you mention any tools for figuring out where the smoke is concentrated? As far as tools for figuring that out, the only thing that I could really suggest would be if you can get like I would think it would show up best on a satellite image and forecasted for the time you're going to be flying around there. Yeah, there's nothing that like any type of haze or smoke is too small for any type of weather radar to pick up. And so yeah, basically I would check out the satellite imaging on wherever you check your on the what is it the Nav Canada, or or you could, when in doubt, call the good people at Nav Canada. They're extremely helpful. So that would be my suggestion to you, Jason. I don't think there's just satellite photos and call up Nav Canada. That's all I got for you. But I don't know any special apps or anything for that. I don't know. Okay, or you know what? I wonder if there's any websites out there that are reporting air pollution indices. That might be something too. Okay, well, yeah, thank you. You are welcome, Jason. So, yeah, so that's about it for the show. We'll be shutting her down. Today is Wednesday, hump day. All right, it's all downhill from here. And then, so I'll be back on Friday because I do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern. And you have a great day too there, Shecky, and we'll shut her down. Thank you. Thank you. Point. Thank you, Point, for watching. Okay. Bye.